What if the dead didn't stay grounded, but came back to fly? In 1972, Eastern Airlines Flight 401 crashed into the Florida Everglades, killing over 100 people. A tragedy, but one that should have ended there. It didn't. Because months later, the dead crew of Flight 401 began appearing on other planes, not as rumors, but as full, verified apparitions. Speaking. Warning. Saving lives. These weren't tales told in whispers. They were documented sightings by pilots, engineers, and airline staff, people trained to notice the impossible. So what really happened that night? And what was unleashed into the skies afterward? Stay with me. Because the deeper we dive into the wreckage of Flight 401, the more chilling the truth becomes. The setting, December 29, 1972. Eastern Airlines Flight 401 departs JFK Airport, New York, on a routine route to Miami. The aircraft, a state-of-the-art Lockheed L-1011 TriStar, one of the most advanced airliners of its time. But what was supposed to be an uneventful flight turned catastrophic. While descending toward Miami, a faulty landing gear light distracted the crew. As they tried to troubleshoot, the autopilot disengaged, unnoticed. The plane slowly lost altitude. And at 11:42 p.m., Flight 401 crashed into the Florida Everglades. Out of 176 passengers and crew, 101 died. The crash was devastating, and the rescue, nearly impossible in the dark swamp. But this is not just a story of mechanical failure. It's what followed that elevates Flight 401 into the realm of the unexplainable. In the months after the crash, strange sightings began. Flight engineers, flight attendants, and even entire cockpit crews began reporting the impossible, seeing the faces, and even speaking to crew members who had died on Flight 401. One flight attendant preparing a flight noticed a uniformed man sitting quietly in first class. She alerted the cockpit. When the captain came to check, he reportedly turned pale. "That's Bob Loft," he whispered. Bob Loft was the captain of Flight 401. He had died on impact. In another incident, an engineer claimed a man appeared in the avionics bay, and warned him of an imminent electrical fire. The fire happened. But no one could explain the warning. Or the man. That man? Don Repo, Flight 401's flight engineer. Also deceased. These weren't just rumors. Multiple witnesses corroborated them. And what they saw wasn't just haunting. It was helpful. Why would ghosts appear only on specific aircraft? Because after the crash, Eastern Airlines salvaged working components from the wreckage and installed them into other L-1011 TriStars. Engines. Ovens. Control panels. And it was only on planes using these parts that the sightings occurred. Cabin crew refused to fly. Maintenance crews walked off shifts. Senior executives reported incidents they couldn't explain. Eventually, Eastern Airlines removed every reused part from Flight 401. And just like that, the sightings stopped. Could these parts have carried not just metal and wiring, but trauma? Memory? Soul? Despite the number of incidents, and internal memos confirming them, Eastern Airlines went into full denial mode. They denied any haunting. They never publicly acknowledged the ghost sightings. Why? Because the FAA was watching, and the last thing Eastern needed was a public panic. But insider reports, leaked documents, and even retired staff confirm, the airline took the report seriously, behind closed doors. There's even talk that the US military quietly monitored the crash site for years afterward. Why would they care about a commercial crash? Because some believe what happened wasn't just spiritual, but something unknown, a ripple in time, consciousness, or physics triggered by violent trauma in mid-air. In 1974, 2 years after the crash, ham radio operators in South Florida began picking up a strange signal. A phantom frequency, bleeding static and snippets of cockpit chatter. Experts identified it as the final communication from Flight 401, word for word. But the signal was being broadcast live. No explanation was ever given. The signal faded after a few weeks. But for a moment, it was as if Flight 401 had never stopped flying. Flight 401 was a tragedy. But what followed it was something stranger. Multiple verified witnesses. Documented apparitions. Supernatural warnings that saved lives. And the unexplained connection between parts of a machine and the souls once inside it. Was it a haunting? A psychic imprint? Or something science simply doesn't have the words for yet? Whatever the answer, Flight 401 reminds us that energy doesn't disappear. Not always. Sometimes it travels. Sometimes it speaks. And sometimes it waits in the dark, not to harm, but to help. The next time you're buckled into your seat, 30,000 feet above the earth, and you feel like you're not alone, you might be right. If this journey into the haunted skies gripped your imagination, hit subscribe to Veil of Fortune, where the past whispers, and the future listens. Until next time, stay curious.